Remember your position. The words weren't loud, but they were enough to make the entire parking garage quiet. Lucas Bennett stood beside the black Mercedes. His hand was still holding the car door. In front of him stood Amelia Carter, CEO of Sterling International, the youngest woman ever to lead a Fortune 500 company, the woman who could make executives twice her age nervous with one look. And right now, she was looking at him, not as an employee, but as someone she was protecting. 5 minutes earlier, the executive floor had been celebrating the company's biggest acquisition of the year. Everyone was there: board members, investors, senior executives, and Lucas. Except, nobody knew who Lucas really was. To everyone in Sterling International, he was simply Amelia's driver, the man who picked her up every morning, the man who opened her car door, the man who waited outside meetings. Nothing more. At least, that's what everyone believed. During the celebration, one of the senior executives raised his glass to Miss Carter, the youngest CEO in the industry, the woman who built this empire. Everyone applauded. Then, someone laughed. Of course, we should also thank Mr. Bennett. Lucas looked up. He recognized the voice. Adrian Cole, vice president, always looking for a chance to impress Amelia. Adrian smiled. After all, our CEO spends so much time with her driver. A few people laughed awkwardly. Lucas lowered his eyes. He was used to this. People underestimated him. It was easier that way. But Adrian continued. Honestly, I don't understand why the company keeps someone like him around. He parks cars, runs errands. He's not exactly executive material. The room became quiet. Lucas remained calm. He simply placed his glass down. I'll leave first. He turned. But before he could walk away, Amelia spoke. Stop. Her voice was cold. Everyone froze. Lucas stopped, too. Amelia slowly stood. She looked at Adrian. Not angry, not emotional, just disappointed. Do you know why Lucas works as my driver? Adrian smiled. Because that's his job. No. Amelia walked around the table. Every step made the room quieter. Because he chose to. The executives looked confused. Chose? She nodded. When he joined this company, he could have taken any position. Finance, operations, executive management. Adrian's expression changed slightly. Amelia continued. But he refused. Why? Because he said she looked toward Lucas. He wanted to know the person behind the title. Silence. Lucas looked surprised. She remembered. 3 years ago, Lucas had entered Carter International. Everyone expected him to fight for a high position. Instead, he asked to become her personal driver. When Amelia questioned him, he only smiled. I don't want to work for the CEO. I want to work beside Amelia. At the time, she thought he was strange. Now, she knew he was the only person who saw her. Not the CEO. Not the billionaire heiress. Just her. Adrian forced a laugh. Even so, he's still just a driver. Amelia looked at him, then smiled slightly. You're right. The room relaxed until she continued. He is my driver, and everyone held their breath. Amelia walked directly toward Lucas, stopped in front of him. Then she reached out, grabbed his hand. Adrian's smile disappeared. CEO. She ignored him. Instead, she looked at Lucas. Do you know what everyone calls you? Lucas smiled faintly. A driver. She shook her head. No. They call you that because they don't know you. Her voice softened. 'Cause they don't know you. Are the person who remembers my coffee order. The person who notices when I skip lunch. The person who waits outside my office at midnight. Lucas. Expression changed. Amelia. She squeezed his hand. Then turned toward everyone. He's not important because of his position. He's important because. She looked back at him. He's the only person who has never treated me like a CEO. The entire room was silent. Then, Adrian laughed nervously. CEO. Are you saying you have feelings for your driver? Everyone looked at Amelia. Waiting. For years. No one had ever seen her show emotion. Not once. But today. She didn't hesitate. Yes. One word. Simple. Certain. Lucas' heart stopped. Before anyone could react. Amelia stepped closer. Placed one hand gently on his shoulder. Then kissed him in front of everyone. The entire ballroom froze. Someone dropped a glass. Someone stopped recording. Someone forgot to breathe. The Ice Queen CEO had kissed her driver. When she pulled away, Lucas was completely stunned. Amelia. She looked at him calmly. What? Everyone saw. I know. I did. Why? For the first time, the woman who controlled billion-dollar negotiations looked slightly nervous. She lowered her voice. Because I was tired of watching everyone misunderstand you. Lucas stared at her. And she smiled softly. And I'm tired of pretending that you're only my driver. Outside the ballroom, the company's internal chat exploded. Breaking news. CEO kissed her driver. Is this real? The Ice Queen has a boyfriend? Who is Lucas Bennett? Nobody knew. Not yet. Because tomorrow, the entire company would discover something shocking. The man they thought was just a driver was the one person Amelia Carter had been waiting for all along. The next morning, Sterling International was no longer a company, it was a battlefield of rumors. The moment Lucas walked into the lobby, every conversation stopped. Not for the CEO, not for the executives, for him. The driver, the man who had kissed the CEO, in front of hundreds of people. Lucas looked around awkwardly. Morning. The receptionist immediately stood straighter. Good morning, Mr. Bennett. Lucas blinked. Yesterday, they barely looked at him. Today, everyone suddenly knew his name. The elevator doors opened. Lucas stepped inside. Before the doors closed, a group of employees rushed in. The atmosphere became painfully quiet. Finally, one young employee couldn't hold it anymore. Mr. Hayes. Lucas looked over. Yes? Can I ask you something? Sure. Are you really just a driver? The elevator became silent. Lucas smiled. Yes. The employee looked shocked. But why would the CEO? Lucas interrupted gently. That's a question for her. The employee nodded, then whispered, I think everyone wants to know. On the executive floor, Amelia was already waiting, not behind her desk, near the elevator. Lucas stepped out. Immediately, noticed. You were waiting? She nodded. Yes. Why? She looked confused. Because I wanted to see you. Lucas smiled. You know, before yesterday, you never waited for me. She looked at him. Before yesterday, I was pretending. About what? She stepped closer. About not caring. Lucas looked at the woman in front of him. The same woman who terrified investors. The same woman who could end negotiations with one sentence. Now, she was standing in front of him, admitting she missed him. His smile softened. Amelia. MHM? You. No. Everyone is talking about us. I. No. You're not worried? No. Why? She answered immediately. Because they are talking about the truth. Just then Sophie walked over with a stack of documents. She stopped, looked at the two of them, then smiled. Should I come back later? Lucas immediately stepped away. No. Amelia looked at Sophie. What? Sophie laughed. I've worked for you for 5 years. I have. Never seen you this obvious. Amelia frowned. Was I obvious? Sophie and Lucas answered together. Yes. Sophie placed the documents down. Actually, there is something Lucas should know. Lucas looked curious. What? She hesitated. Then opened a file. Inside were dozens of reports, all related to him. Lucas frowned. What are these? Sophie smiled. Your evaluations. My evaluations? She nodded. Every year. Lucas picked up the first document. The date was 3 years ago. The first week he joined. The comments were written by Amelia. Lucas Hayes is extremely capable. His understanding of people is his greatest strength. Do not underestimate him. Lucas looked surprised. I didn't know you wrote this. Sophie smiled. Of course you didn't. Because every time someone suggested promoting you, she refused. Lucas frowned. Why? Sophie looked at Amelia. Amelia remained silent. Finally, she answered. Because I was selfish. Lucas looked at her. What do you mean? She lowered her eyes. I wanted you close. The honesty stunned him. Sophie continued. Do you know how many times the board suggested moving Lucas to another department? Lucas shook his head. No. 7 times. And every time Amelia rejected it. Because Sophie smiled. Because she said I need him here. Lucas looked at Amelia. You said that? She nodded. I did. Why? Amelia was quiet for a moment. Then answered softly. Because every time my day became unbearable. You were the only reason I could continue. Before Lucas could respond, the office door opened. Adrian walked in. His expression was completely different from yesterday. CEO. Amelia looked up. What? I apologize. Lucas glanced at him. Adrian lowered his head. I misunderstood Mr. Hayes. Amelia said nothing. Adrian continued. I thought he was only a driver. But he looked at Lucas. Clearly I was wrong. After Adrian left, Lucas stared at Amelia. You defended me yesterday. Yes. In front of everyone. Yes. You knew there would be rumors. Yes. Why weren't you afraid? She smiled. Lucas. I've spent my whole life being afraid of losing control. My company. My reputation. My image. She walked closer. But when it comes to losing you, I realized control doesn't matter anymore. That evening, Lucas drove Amelia home, just like he had done for 3 years. Except tonight, everything felt different. The city lights reflected across the windshield. Amelia sat quietly beside him. After several minutes, she spoke. Lucas, do you know what my biggest regret is? He glanced at her. What? That I waited 3 years. For what? She looked out the window. To tell you that every time you opened the car door for me, every time you waited outside my office, every time you said he'll be here, I wasn't thinking about my driver. Lucas' hand tightened slightly on the steering wheel. Then, what were you thinking? She turned toward him. I was thinking about the man I loved. The car became quiet. Only the sound of rain remained. Lucas finally smiled. Amelia? Yes? I think I might have been waiting 3 years, too. She looked surprised. Waiting for what? He looked at her. For you to finally see me. She smiled softly. I saw you a long time ago. Then why didn't you say anything? Her answer was barely a whisper. Because I was afraid you'd leave. Lucas reached over at the red light, held her hand. Not anymore. For the first time, the Ice Queen CEO wasn't Afraid of losing someone because the one person she wanted was already holding her hand. 3 days after the public kiss, Sterling International still hadn't recovered. Not because the company had problems. Actually, business was better than ever. The problem was everyone was obsessed with one question: who is Lucas Hayes? At lunchtime, the cafeteria was unusually quiet. Lucas walked in carrying his usual meal. Immediately, everyone looked up. Before yesterday, nobody noticed him. Today, everyone noticed everything: the way he walked, the way he spoke, even the coffee he ordered. A young employee whispered, "He doesn't look like a driver." Another nodded. "I know. He looks like someone who owns the company." Lucas heard it. He smiled. If only they knew. 3 years ago, when Lucas first joined Sterling International, the board had prepared an executive position for him. He rejected it. Everyone was confused. You graduated from the world's top business school. You have investment experience. You have managed companies before. Why become a driver? Lucas only gave one answer: "I want to understand." Amelia. At the time, everyone thought he was crazy. Now, only Amelia knew the truth. Or at least, she thought she did. That afternoon, Amelia walked into Lucas' office. Yes, Lucas finally had an office. After yesterday's announcement, the board had immediately offered him a new position: executive director. He refused again. Amelia frowned. "Why?" Lucas looked up. "Why what? You rejected the promotion." He smiled. "I don't need it. You deserve it." "I know." She paused. "You know?" He laughed. "I've always known what I'm capable of." "Then why hide?" Lucas became quiet. For the first time, Amelia saw hesitation in his eyes. "Lucas, tell me. What? Why did you become my driver?" He looked away. "Isn't it obvious?" "No." She walked closer. "Not anymore. You are not someone who needs to start from the bottom. You never were." "Why?" Lucas was silent for a long time. Then, he opened the drawer beside his desk and took out a photograph. Amelia looked at it. Her eyes widened. The picture showed a young man standing beside an older businessman. The logo behind them was one she recognized: Bennett Global, one of the world's largest private investment groups. Her voice became quiet. "Lucas." He nodded. "Yes, I am. From Bennett Global." Silence. Complete silence. Amelia stared at him. "You knew?" "Yes." "You knew who my family was?" "Yes." "You knew I was competing with your company?" "Yes." She stepped back slightly. "Then why? Why did you become my driver?" Lucas looked at her. "Because everyone who approached me wanted something. They wanted investment, connections, power. But you." He smiled. "You never asked for anything." 3 years ago, before joining Sterling International, Lucas had seen Amelia at a business event. She was standing alone. Everyone around her was trying to impress her: investors, executives, rich heirs. But Lucas noticed something else. She looked exhausted, not powerful, lonely. That was the first time he thought, "I want to know the person behind that expression." Back in the office, Amelia looked at him. "So, all this time, you were my driver because you needed the job?" "No, you were there because of me." Lucas nodded. "Yes." She was silent. Then suddenly, she laughed. Lucas was confused. "Why are you laughing?" She shook her head. "Because I spent 3 years worrying you would leave. And you spent 3 years choosing to stay." She walked closer. Stopped in front of him. "You idiot." Lucas smiled. "That's not usually a compliment." "It is from me." She touched his chest lightly. You could have stood beside me. Everyone would have accepted you. You didn't need to open my car door. You didn't need to wait outside meetings. You didn't need to pretend to be ordinary. Lucas looked at her. I didn't pretend. No? He shook his head. I was ordinary with you. She froze. What? When I was with you, I wasn't the heir of Bennett Global. I wasn't an investor. I wasn't anyone important. He smiled. I was just Lucas. That sentence hit her harder than anything else because she finally understood the man she loved had never wanted her company, her status, her power. He had chosen the one thing nobody else chose: her. That evening, the board held an emergency meeting. The chairman announced, effective immediately, Lucas Bennett will become vice chairman of Sterling International. The room erupted. Lucas stood. Actually, everyone looked at him. I have one condition. The chairman smiled. I know. You want to continue working with Amelia? Lucas nodded. Amelia looked at him. You do? Yes. Why? He smiled. Because my favorite job has always been being the person who makes you smile. Later that night, Amelia sat in the passenger seat. Lucas drove. Again. She looked at him. You're still driving me home? Yes. Even though you could hire 10 drivers? Yes. Why? He glanced at her. Because he smiled. I like opening the door for you. She looked away quickly, trying to hide her smile. You know, MHM. The whole world thinks I kissed my driver. Lucas laughed. And she looked at him. They're wrong. Why? She held his hand. Because the world thinks I fell for someone below me. She smiled. But the truth is, I fell for someone who was always standing beside me. The car continued through the city lights. And, for the first time, Lucas no longer had to hide who he was. Because Amelia had never loved his identity. She had loved the man who opened the door for her. The news shocked the entire business world. Bennett Global Air. Lucas Bennett joins Sterling International. Within one afternoon, every major financial magazine published the same headline. People who had ignored him for 3 years suddenly wanted interviews. Investors who never remembered his name suddenly called him Mr. Bennett. The same man who had stood quietly behind Amelia's car door was now the person everyone wanted to meet. Monday morning, the entrance of Sterling International was packed. Reporters, cameras, executives, everyone waited. The elevator doors opened. Lucas stepped out. A perfectly tailored suit, calm expression, confident posture, completely different from the man everyone thought they knew. The reporters immediately surrounded him. Mr. Bennett, is it true you hid your identity for 3 years? Why did you choose to work as CEO Sterling's driver? Are you and CEO Sterling getting married? Lucas calmly answered. One question at a time. The reporters laughed. Then someone asked, Mr. Bennett, with your background, why would you ever become a driver? The crowd became quiet. Everyone wanted the answer. Lucas looked toward the elevator, then smiled, because that was the closest position to her. The answer immediately went viral. Inside the building, employees watched the interview on their phones. Noah shook his head. I still can't believe it. Lucas looked over. What? You? What about me? You were secretly a billionaire heir. Lucas shrugged. And you spent 3 years carrying CEO's coffee. Lucas smiled. She liked that coffee. Noah sighed. You're hopeless. At that moment, the elevator doors opened again. Amelia stepped out. The entire lobby became silent. She wore her usual CEO outfit. Elegant, powerful, cold. Except the moment she saw Lucas, her expression changed. A small smile appeared. Only for him. Everyone noticed. Everyone. Lucas walked toward her. Good morning. She looked at him. Good morning. You slept well? Not really. He frowned. Why? She answered honestly. Because you weren't there. The lobby froze. The Ice Queen CEO just admitted she missed him. In public. Lucas smiled. I was in the guest room. I know. Then? I still missed you. The employees immediately looked away, pretending not to hear. But everyone heard. Later that morning, a senior manager entered Amelia's office. CEO? Yes? I wanted to apologize. For what? The manager hesitated. For misunderstanding Mr. Bennett. Amelia looked up. You mean Lucas? Yes. He lowered his head. We all thought he was just a driver. Amelia was silent. Then smiled. That's because he never wanted anyone to see anything else. The manager nodded. He really loves you. Amelia looked toward the window. A soft smile appeared. I know. That evening, Lucas arrived at the underground parking lot. He walked toward the company car, but stopped because Amelia was standing beside it holding the keys. He blinked. What are you doing? She looked serious. Driving. You? Yes. He laughed. Are you? Sure. She nodded. I practiced. How long? 3 days. Lucas stared. 3 days? I wanted to know what it felt like. What? She opened the driver's door. To take care of you. Lucas sat in the passenger seat. Amelia drove carefully. Very carefully. Too carefully. He smiled. You look more nervous driving than negotiating a billion-dollar contract. She frowned. Because this matters more. He looked at her. Why? She kept her eyes on the road. Because everyone depends on me at work. But she glanced at him. I only care about one person being safe. Lucas. Heart softened. Halfway home, they stopped at a red light. Amelia suddenly asked, Lucas? MHM? Do you regret it? Regret what? Being my driver. The question surprised him. He answered immediately. No. Not even once? Never. Even when people look down on you? No. Even when everyone misunderstood you? No. She looked at him. Why? Lucas smiled. Because every morning, I got to be the first person who saw you. She froze. What? Before the CEO. Before the meetings. Before everyone needed something from you. I saw Amelia. The woman who was tired. The woman who forgot breakfast. The woman who secretly cried after losing a deal. The woman who pretended she was fine. His voice softened. I like that. Amelia. The traffic light turned green. Amelia didn't move immediately. Her eyes became slightly red. Lucas? Yes? I think I owe you something. What? She leaned over before he could react. She kissed him. Not in front of hundreds of people this time. Not to prove anything. Just because she wanted to. When she pulled away, she whispered, Thank you. Lucas smiled. For what? For seeing me before anyone else did. The next day, a new company rule appeared on the internal system. Everyone was shocked. Rule 1. Do not interrupt Lucas Bennett when he is having lunch with CEO Sterling. Noah stared at it. Who created this? Sophie smiled. The CEO. Noah sighed. Of course. She can manage a company worth billions. But her biggest priority is protecting one man's lunch break. Sophie laughed. That's love. And everyone at Sterling International finally understood. Lucas Bennett wasn't special because he was the heir of Bennett Global. He was special because the Ice Queen CEO had chosen him long before anyone knew his name. After Lucas' identity was revealed, everything changed except one thing. Every morning at 7:45. A black Mercedes still stopped at the entrance of Sterling International. And every morning at 7:50, Lucas still opened the passenger door for Amelia. The first week after the announcement, the employees were confused, very confused, because they expected something different. They expected Lucas to arrive, surrounded by assistants, security, guards, executives. But no, he arrived, alone holding 2 coffees, one for himself, one for Amelia. Exactly like before. Noah watched him walk into the building. He couldn't help shaking his head. You really didn't change anything. Lucas handed him a coffee. Why would I? You're now one of the most powerful people in the industry. Lucas shrugged. I know. Then why are you still doing this? Lucas looked toward the elevator. Amelia was waiting inside. The doors were about to close. He immediately walked faster. Noah watched him run, then sighed. Never mind. You didn't become powerful. You just became a rich man who is still afraid his girlfriend will leave without him. Inside the elevator, Amelia looked at him. You were running. Lucas smiled. I didn't want to miss the elevator. She raised an eyebrow. You own half the building. That doesn't mean I want to take the stairs. She laughed. A genuine laugh. The employees inside the elevator froze, because they had worked with Amelia for years, and they had never seen this. The CEO was laughing before 8 a.m. That afternoon, a major investor visited Sterling International. Everyone prepared carefully. The investor was famous for being arrogant. During the meeting, he looked at Lucas, then at Amelia. So, your boyfriend is now vice chairman. He smiled. Convenient. The room became quiet. Everyone understood the implication. He was suggesting Lucas only had his position because of Amelia. Lucas remained calm. Before he could respond, Amelia spoke. Interesting. The investor smiled. What's interesting? She closed the document in front of her. You spent 20 minutes discussing Lucas' relationship with me, not his investment record, not his achievements, not his business decisions. Her expression became cold. The old ice queen returned. So, should I assume you are unable to judge his ability? The investor's smile disappeared. Lucas looked at her. He had defended himself many times, but this was different because Amelia wasn't defending his position. She was defending his dignity. After the meeting, Lucas followed her into the office. Amelia, MHM? You didn't have to do that. She turned around. Do what? Protect me. She looked confused. Why wouldn't I? Because everyone already thinks I got everything. Because of you. She walked closer. Lucas, do you know the difference between everyone else and me? What? Everyone else sees your identity. She gently touched his chest. I see you. Lucas became quiet. She continued. I knew you when nobody cared. I knew you when people called you just a driver. I knew you when you ate lunch alone because everyone thought you didn't belong. Her eyes softened. So now, why would I let anyone disrespect the person who stayed beside me? That evening, Lucas took Amelia home as usual. Except this time, she didn't get out of the car immediately. Lucas? Yes? I have a question. Ask. Do you like being rich? He laughed. That's a strange question. Answer. He thought for a moment. Maybe. Why maybe? Because money gives me freedom. Freedom to do what? He looked at her. Choose. She smiled. And what did you choose? Lucas didn't hesitate. You. The answer was so simple. Yet it hit her harder than any romantic speech. Because Amelia had spent her entire life surrounded by people who chose her because of power. Lucas chose her when he believed she had nothing to offer him. That night, Amelia returned to her apartment. She stood in front of the mirror. She looked at herself, the CEO, the heiress, the woman everyone admired. Then she smiled because she finally understood something. She had always thought Lucas was hiding his identity. But actually, she was the one hiding. She hid behind her title, her reputation, her perfect image. And Lucas was the only person who never asked her to remove those things. He simply waited until she was ready. The next morning, Lucas arrived at the office. But something was different. His desk was gone. In its place was a new office. Beside Amelia's. Lucas looked confused. Amelia? She looked up. Yes? What is this? Your new office. Why? She answered. Naturally. Because I want you closer. Lucas smiled. Is this a CEO decision? No. Then what is it? She walked over, lowered her voice. My girlfriend. Decision. Lucas laughed. You know. Everyone can hear you. I know. You don't care? She shook her head. Not anymore. At that moment, the entire executive floor received an email from Amelia Carter. The subject: important announcement. Everyone opened it immediately. Inside was only one sentence: Lucas Bennett is not my driver anymore. Everyone was shocked until they read the second sentence. He is the person I choose to stand beside. The office became silent. Then the entire floor erupted. Noah looked at Sophie. She really doesn't hide anymore. Sophie smiled. No. She spent 3 years hiding her feelings. She's making up for lost time. That evening, Lucas opened the passenger door for Amelia. She looked at him. You're still doing that? He smiled. Yes. Why? Because I like it. She looked at him for a long moment, then stepped closer. Lucas. MHM? You know I never needed a driver. He smiled. I know. I needed someone who would stay. His expression softened. And I found you. The car door closed. The city lights reflected on the windshield. And once again, the world's most powerful CEO went home with the one man who had never cared about her power. Only her. The annual Sterling International Gala was the biggest event of the year. Every major business figure attended. Investors, partners, media, competitors. Everyone wanted to see the newly revealed couple, the Ice Queen CEO and the mysterious heir who had spent 3 years as her driver. Before the event, Amelia stood in front of the mirror. Her assistant adjusted her necklace. CEO, MHM, are you nervous? Amelia looked surprised. No. The assistant smiled. Really? You're about to appear in front of thousands of people with Mr. Bennett. Why would I be nervous? Amelia looked at herself, then quietly added, I was nervous 3 years ago. The assistant blinked. When I realized she smiled softly. I cared about what one person thought of me. At the same time, Lucas waited downstairs. When Amelia walked out, he stopped. Even after everything, she could still surprise him. Black evening gown, elegant jewelry, confident expression. The CEO. Everyone feared. But the moment she saw him, the cold expression disappeared. Only warmth remained. You waited. Lucas smiled. I always do. That answer still made her heart race. The gala began. Cameras flashed. Reporters surrounded them. CEO Sterling. Mr. Bennett. How long have you been together? Was the driver story real? Why did you hide your relationship? Amelia ignored most questions until one reporter asked, CEO Carter, is it true Mr. Bennett only became vice chairman because of you? The atmosphere changed. Lucas' expression remained calm, but Amelia noticed. She always noticed him. She stepped forward. Let me answer. The reporters immediately focused on her. Lucas Bennett became vice chairman because he is qualified, not because he is my boyfriend. She paused, then smiled. But even if he had nothing, I would still choose him. The crowd became quiet. Lucas looked at her. She continued. 3 years ago, everyone saw him as my driver. They thought he was beneath me, but they never saw what I saw. He was the person who stayed after everyone left, the person who remembered small things nobody noticed, the person who made my hardest days easier. Her voice softened. So, if you ask me who Lucas Bennett is, she looked at him. The answer is simple. He is the person I trust most. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then the cameras started flashing again. The next morning, that speech appeared on every business headline. Not because Lucas was the heir of Bennett Global, but because the Ice Queen CEO had publicly admitted the most important person in her life was not her company. It was him. Later that night, the gala ended. Lucas and Amelia stood on the balcony outside the hotel. The city stretched beneath them, beautiful, quiet. Amelia held 2 glasses of water. Lucas smiled. Everyone else drank champagne. She looked at him. I don't like champagne. You do. She shook her head. I used to. And now? She smiled. Now I prefer things that feel real. Lucas looked at her. Like coffee, lunch, walking home. She paused. And you? Lucas smiled. You know, HM. When I first became your driver, I thought I would be happy just being near you. She looked at him. You were? Yes. But I was wrong. Why? Because now. He reached for her hand. I don't want to stand behind you anymore. Amelia's expression softened. I don't want you behind me either. No? She shook her head. I want you beside me. A few days later, something happened that surprised everyone. Amelia took a vacation. Not a business trip. Not an overseas meeting. A real vacation. 3 days. No laptop. No calls. No documents. The board nearly panicked. CEO, the company needs you. Amelia looked at Lucas, then answered calmly, the company will survive 3 days. And you? She smiled. I need to remind myself that I have a life outside work. They went to a small coastal town. No luxury hotels. No private beaches. Just a quiet seaside house. Lucas watched Amelia walk barefoot along the shore. He smiled. What? She turned. You look happy. I am. Why? He thought for a moment. Because this is the first time I've seen you completely relaxed. She looked at the ocean. I forgot what that felt like. That night, they sat outside under the stars. Amelia suddenly asked, Lucas? Yes? If one day I lost everything, the company, the money, the CEO title, she looked at him seriously. Would you still choose me? Lucas didn't answer immediately. Instead, he moved closer, held her hand. Amelia, MHM? I chose you when I thought you would never choose me. I chose you when everyone thought I was just a driver. I chose you before you knew my name. His eyes were full of certainty. So why would losing anything change that? Her eyes slowly became red. You always know what to say. He smiled. No, I just always know what I feel. She leaned against his shoulder. For years, everyone called her strong, independent, unbreakable. But only Lucas knew the truth. The strongest woman in the world also wanted someone who would hold her hand and say, you don't have to carry everything alone. The next morning, a photo appeared online. No official announcement. No press release. Just a picture taken by a tourist. Amelia Sterling, the Ice Queen, CEO, walking on the beach. holding Lucas' hand, laughing. The caption became viral. The woman who owns an empire finally found someone she can come home to. And for the first time, nobody called Lucas her driver. Nobody called him her assistant. Everyone simply called him what Amelia had known all along, the person she loved. Lucas had been acting strange again, and Amelia noticed immediately. She always noticed him. For 1 week, Lucas left the office earlier than usual. He whispered with Sophie. He received mysterious packages. He even asked Noah for advice. Noah, the man who had terrible romantic instincts. That alone made Amelia suspicious. One evening, Lucas came home later than expected. When he opened the door, the apartment was dark. Amelia? No answer. His heart tightened. He turned on the lights. She was sitting by the window, still wearing her work clothes, looking at the city. Your home. Lucas walked closer. What happened? She shook her head. Nothing. He knew immediately she was lying. What are you thinking? She didn't answer. After a long silence, she asked quietly, "Are you tired?" Lucas frowned. Of what? Me? The question shocked him. What? She looked away. Recently, you've been distant. You leave early. You hide your phone. You talk to Sophie and Noah. Her voice became softer. I thought maybe you realized something. What? That being with me is too complicated. Lucas froze. Then he understood. She wasn't angry. She was afraid. The same Amelia, who could face hundreds of executives, was sitting alone worrying that he might leave. He immediately walked over. Amelia. She looked up. I'm here. No. He knelt in front of her. I don't think you understand. What? There is nowhere else I want to be. Her eyes trembled slightly. Then why? Because he smiled. I was preparing something. She became quiet. What? Lucas reached into his pocket but didn't take anything out. Not yet. Instead, he asked, "Do you remember the first day I became your driver?" She nodded. You were late for a meeting. I was. You forgot your coffee. I did. You looked so angry. I was. She smiled slightly. You thought I was terrifying. Lucas laughed. I did. And now. He looked at her. I think you're the most adorable, terrifying person I've ever met. She couldn't help smiling. Lucas continued. But there was something you don't know. What? The first week I worked for you, you never noticed me. Amelia frowned. That's not true. It is. You barely looked at me. She looked guilty. I was busy. I know. But he smiled. One day, you came back to the office after midnight. You thought everyone had left. But I was still there. Amelia's expression changed. I remember. You gave me your coat because you were cold. You said he imitated her serious tone. Don't get sick. I don't want my driver falling asleep while driving me. She laughed softly. I said that? You did. I sounded terrible. You sounded worried. Lucas took her hand. That was the first time I realized the woman everyone feared actually cared. She just didn't know how to show it. Amelia looked down. I was terrible at it. No. He shook his head. You were learning. So was I. Finally, Lucas stood, then slowly lowered himself onto one knee. Amelia stopped breathing. Lucas. He smiled. 3 years ago, I became your driver because I wanted to know you. Today, I want to spend the rest of my life knowing you. He opened the ring box. A simple diamond ring. No huge stone. No unnecessary luxury. Just elegant. Perfect for her. Amelia Sterling. The woman who built an empire. The woman who pretends she doesn't need anyone. The woman who secretly makes lunch for the person she loves. She laughed. Through tears. Lucas smiled. Will you let me be the person who opens your door? Not because it's my job, but because I want to. Her eyes immediately filled. Lucas. You really are unfair. He looked confused. Why? Because. She wiped away her tears. You always make me cry. He laughed softly. Is that a yes? She didn't answer. Instead, she pulled him up, then hugged him tightly. Yes, yes, yes. The ring was still in his hand. She looked down. You forgot something. What? The ring. Lucas laughed. I was distracted. By what? You. She smiled. Good answer. He slid the ring onto her finger. Perfect fit. That night, Lucas thought everything was finished until Amelia stopped him before bed. Lucas. Yes? I have something to tell you. What? She walked to her desk. Opened a drawer. Inside was a small box. Lucas looked confused. What is that? She handed it to him. Open it. Inside was another ring. His eyes widened. You. She nodded. I bought it 6 months ago. 6 months? Yes. Why didn't you give it to me? She looked away. Because I was afraid. Of. What? That if I asked, you might say no. Lucas stared at her. Then laughed softly. Amelia. I spent 3 years thinking I wasn't good enough for you. She smiled sadly. And I spent 3 years thinking I wasn't lovable enough for you. They both went silent. Then laughed because they finally understood. Two people. Both secretly afraid. Both secretly in love. Both waiting for the other person to take the first step. The next morning, Sterling International received a shocking announcement. Not a business announcement. A personal one. From Amelia Sterling. The subject line was simple. Important news. Everyone opened it. The message contained only one sentence. The man who used to open my car door will soon become the man who walks beside me forever. The entire company exploded. Noah stared at the email, then smiled. Finally. Sophie nodded. Finally. Because everyone knew something. Amelia herself had. Lucas was never just her driver. He was the person who had been driving her heart home all along. 1 year later, the wedding of Amelia Sterling and Lucas Hayes became the biggest social event of the year. Not because of money. Not because of status. But because everyone wanted to see one thing. The Ice Queen. CEO finally smiling like a normal woman. The wedding venue was a private garden overlooking the ocean. No reporters. No business speeches. No investors. Only the people who mattered. Family, friends, and the employees who had witnessed their story from the beginning. Before the ceremony, Lucas stood alone near the garden entrance. Noah walked over. Nervous? Lucas smiled. A little. Noah looked confused. You negotiated with billionaires. Yes. You faced the world's toughest investors. Yes. And you're nervous about one woman? Lucas smiled. She's the only person whose opinion matters. Noah shook his head. You really are hopeless. Lucas laughed. Probably. Then the music began. Everyone turned. Amelia appeared. She wasn't wearing the cold expression everyone knew. No, she was smiling. A real smile. The same smile Lucas had first seen when she forgot to be a CEO. When she reached him, Lucas couldn't stop looking at her. She noticed. What? He smiled. You look beautiful. She raised an eyebrow. Only today? No, every day. She nodded. Better answer. The ceremony began. The officiant smiled. Today we celebrate two people who proved something important. Love does not always begin with grand gestures. Sometimes it begins with someone opening a car door. Everyone laughed. Lucas looked embarrassed. Amelia smiled proudly. I like that door. When it was Lucas' turn for vows, he didn't read from paper. He simply held her hands. Amelia, the first day I met you, you were surrounded by people, executives, investors. Everyone wanted something from you. But nobody asked whether you were tired, whether you had eaten, whether you were happy. He smiled softly. Except me. Her eyes became red. I became your driver because I wanted to know the real you, the woman behind the title, the woman behind the company, the woman behind the perfect image. And I found her, the woman who secretly likes sweet desserts, the woman who works too hard, the woman who pretends she doesn't need help, the woman who he smiled still forgets her umbrella. Everyone laughed. Amelia wiped away a tear. I love every version of you. Not because you're a CEO. Not because you're powerful. But because you're Amelia. When it was Amelia's turn, she looked at Lucas for a long moment, then smiled. 3 years ago, I thought I was giving someone a job. I thought I hired a driver. I was wrong. She squeezed his hands. I was giving myself a chance to meet the person who would change my life. She looked around. Everyone listened. The world saw him as my driver. They thought he stood behind me, but they were wrong. She smiled. Lucas was never behind me. He was always beside me. Then she said something that made everyone emotional. People ask me, why am I choose someone who it is identity? Why choose someone who opened your car door? She looked at Lucas. My answer is simple. Because when everyone wanted to open doors to my world, he was the only person who cared about opening the door. For me, Lucas' eyes turned red. The woman who controlled an empire was crying because of him. The efficient smiled. Do you both agree to spend your lives together? Lucas answered immediately. I do. Amelia smiled. I do. Then I pronounce you husband and wife. The crowd erupted. After the ceremony, the employees gathered around. Noah raised his glass. I have one question. Lucas laughed. What? Are you still her driver? Everyone laughed. Lucas looked at Amelia. She pretended to think. Everyone waited. Then she smiled. No. Noah nodded. Good. Lucas smiled. Finally. Then Amelia continued. He's not my driver anymore. The crowd became quiet. Lucas looked at her. She took his hand. He is my husband. That night, after everyone left, Lucas and Amelia returned home. The same apartment. The same city. The same life. Except now. No secrets. No pretending. No distance. The next morning, Lucas woke up early. He walked toward the kitchen, then stopped, because Amelia was already there, wearing his shirt, making breakfast. He smiled. You're cooking? She turned. Yes. Should I be worried? She narrowed her eyes. Why? Last time you almost destroyed a pan. She looked offended. I improved. He looked at the breakfast. Did you? She nodded proudly. I watched tutorials. Lucas laughed. You really never change. She walked over, handed him a plate. Good. Why? Because you fell in love with this version of me. He looked at her. The CEO, the wife, the woman who once sat in the back seat while he opened doors, now standing in their kitchen making breakfast just for him. Years later, new employees at Carter International would still hear the same story about the Ice Queen CEO, about the mysterious executive, about the man everyone thought was only a driver. And whenever someone asked, why did the CEO fall for him? The answer was always the same. Because everyone else wanted to know what he could give her. Power. money, connections. But Amelia Sterling only cared about one thing: the man who opened her car door every morning, the man who waited when everyone else left, the man who saw her before the world saw her, the man who was never just her driver. He was her home. That's all for today. Remember to subscribe and support us.